Sometimes the tension that vibrated through Munich bordered on paranoia, with a terrible blood-churning excitement that came with a terrible cost. One never knew when the Gestapo might come for your neighbour, or you. As these thoughts raced through my mind, the fire grew larger. The overcast reflecting a hellish mixture of blazing yellow and orange, streaked by flowering blooms of black. Then there were more crashes, the sounds of ripping metal and breaking glass, but no alarms sounded. At 16, I was too young to leave my parents' house without permission, but old enough to be curious and frightened by what I saw and heard. I tiptoed down the hall and peered into my parents' bedroom. They slept, undisturbed under their blankets, their sleepy breaths rising and falling in rhythm. I crept back to my room, turned off my lamp, and tried to fall asleep while fearing for the city I called home. "Talia!" my mother shouted the next morning at my door. I shot up in bed. "Yes?" Mary, my mother, tapped her foot as she always did when I had overslept. "You'll be late for school." She turned in the hall towards the kitchen, her black dress ruffling around her body, her shoes clicking on the wooden floor. My mother always kept her bourgeois attitude, despite the fact that living in Germany was harder than both my parents had anticipated after leaving our Russian home behind. She always looked, no matter the time of day, as if she was going shopping. Another habit that she refused to give up was calling me by the diminutive form of my name. That mannerism irritated me because I was no longer a child. I had turned 16 on the 16th of May. All of my girlfriends, and certainly the boys I knew and liked at school, called me by my full name, Natalya. "There's no school today, it's a national holiday," I yawned, and stretched towards the window to see if the fire was still burning. She returned, her eyes flashing in irritation at my sleepy attitude. "Herr Hitler has cancelled the holiday. Herr Hess is speaking tonight. No matter if there's school. If not, you can find yarn for me so I can mend your father's socks." I was at a loss. If the holiday was cancelled, would stores be open or closed? And the task of finding dry goods was becoming almost impossible as the availability of fabrics dried up to support the needs of the expanding Wehrmacht. I washed, dressed, and joined my parents at the breakfast table. "Did you see the fire?" I asked my mother after I sat down. My mother busied herself with the pots on the stove and didn't answer. My father, Peter, lifted a spoonful of porridge to his mouth and gave me a stern look. His eyes narrowed and he said, "Hooligans. Such nonsense." He took a bite and pointed the spoon at me. "Stay away from them." "How do you know they were hooligans?" I asked. My father's black brows bunched over the bridge of his nose. "Many people are reluctant to talk these days, but some do, even early in the morning, when neighbours gather in the hall." "I don't associate with troublemakers," I assured him as I dug into my oatmeal. My father's approach to life, unlike my mother's breezier style, was all business, suitable for a strict disciplinarian. As I grew into my teenage years, I resented the absolute commands that he spewed towards me like platitudes. "No" and "don't" were principal words in his vocabulary. After eating, I returned to my room and studied the algebra problem I'd been working on the previous evening. Frustrated by my inability to solve it, I tossed the troublesome paper and pen next to my biology text. The book lay open to its title page, with the spread-winged eagle perched on the encircled swastika. It gleamed up at me, as if its black ink had been printed yesterday. We lived with those symbols every day. We had no choice. I cleaned my glasses and wondered if I could sneak out with my friend Lisa Kolber. She was more knowledgeable about life and worldly interests than I was. I believed she was prettier, more outgoing, with a less melancholy outlook than mine, inherited from her German parents, far different from living in my Russian father's household. Lisa had a way of making friends that I also admired. We'd known each other for years because we were only a few months apart in age and lived in the same building. 2 taps sounded on the floor from the ceiling below. They were soft, but I felt their vibrations through my shoes. Lisa was sending me our long-held signal to meet. I put on my coat and walked to the sitting room. My father was finishing his tea and reading an illegal book, a German translation of the Summa Theologica.